Welcome, everyone, back to today's episode of Cinema Sitdown. I am your host today, Brendan Barnes, and with me we have on my right,
Oh, hello. I am Brandon.
and on my left.
And I'm Jane Abernathy.
So for tonight's film, we watched a quirky, fun, semi-horror-esque,
Scary. Super scary.
semi-horror-esque film. Dave made a maze. And it's about a man named Dave who made a maze.
Well, it's a labyrinth, actually, technically.
Technically, labyrinth.
I built a labyrinth.
Yes,
He
we
did.
can.
He did make a maze.
There was a maze within the labyrinth.
There was a
Yeah,
maze.
he did make a maze.
There was a maze.
All right.
Oh, for God's sakes. Did you build a maze inside your maze?
It's grammatically correct. Go on.
About a man, Dave, who in fact made a maze inside his apartment out of cardboard boxes that ended up being much larger than he expected. And after his girlfriend and his friends dove into the maze to try to save him, they all wound up being trapped within it, and they had to work together to find a way out. Ultimately, this was a very lighthearted film, and but it definitely had some like undertones that I would consider.
It had some themes, some charm
Yeah.
to it, and I think it had some things to say at certain points. And
Yeah.
it wasn't all just, fun and games. It did have a point to it, I believe.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, where did they get the cardboard? no, but legitimately, Dave made a maze in the center of his living room because he wanted to make something and finish it that he could control. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, my own interpretation of Dave having made the maze
Yeah.
in the first place is about midway through the movie, he has this whole little speech about how he made it because he wanted to finish something. And at that moment, I thought it was very telling. It sort of felt like the director, using Dave as a mouthpiece to sort of speak through him. And I think it's very telling that the director hasn't really had or done anything since. It makes me think that this was the director's passion project. The film might not have too much deeper meaning, but it was made because he wanted to make it, because he thought it was fun. He had an idea, and he pursued it. He wanted to finish it, and by God, he made, I believe, his artistic vision come to life.
Yeah.
So I think the movie was just made for the sake of being made, for the sake of being creative, and for the sake of being inspired and different. And, in every literal sense, it was made because he wanted it to be made. And I don't know if it goes any deeper than that, but that was my own interpretation of what the film was all about.
Okay. Brandon, do you get any of that?
I mean, I didn't think about it deeper than the director like that. I just thought that it was a creative choice to make a movie like this.
Okay.
Kind of like lighthearted fantasy.
It is a creative choice.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's movies out there that are like same type of storytelling, but like in much larger stakes, but which stakes larger than losing your life in there. I don't know. It's just, I watched that entire movie from beginning to end, and I'm still confused about what I just watched. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because it was just like, I get how simple it is.
Yeah.
At the same time, like,
Well, let's talk through it. Like, what are you trying to figure out?
why? Why was it so crazy in the first place? Like, not even the movie. I'm talking about like the maze itself.
Yeah.
Because I am someone who believes in growing up, but not leaving behind like childish activities. Because I still make pillow forts, you know.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a pillow fort turn into like a castle. You know.
Yeah.
I have a crazy imagination myself, you know. So like, what don't, you know? So I'm trying to see it as like, what caused it to do what it did, to make it become a death trap more than just a passion project, you know? That's what I'm confused about.
I think it was the reason it was that way is because Dave he's very much the same as you. I believe he's, you know, a grown-ass man, 30 years old. He still has a very...
I'm not 30.
Well, you're not 30, but he's got a, you know, sort of childlike mentality, or a very strong grip on, you know, his younger self. He wants to still, you know, be an adult and be able to do these fun things, but at the same time, he wants to be taken seriously. You know, he talks about his parents briefly and how they still give him money, how he hates all of his jobs, how his parents think he's boring.
I wasn't striving for anything. I just wanted to make something. And I can't sit on my couch and watch TV or think that the internet's going to inspire me because I'm fucking 30 years old. And my parents are still giving me money. And I bore the shit out of them. And I work jobs that I hate, that I have to beg to get. And... Do you know what it means to be broke? It means that you are broken, that you don't work.
And so he doesn't want to be taken seriously, and this project and its, you know, ever-expanding, you know, labyrinthian design is sort of an extension of that. Instead of it just being a box fort, it's, you know, this grand design that's impossible in nature, and that's just sort of ever-expanding. It's like a world-consuming thing that could kill all of his friends, and so the stakes have been raised. And, you know, he's being taken seriously. At the beginning of the movie, his girlfriend's like, Dave, why the fuck did you make a box fort in my living room?
I really want to see you. Can you please come out?
Annie, I'm lost.
Dude, come out. They're just refrigerator boxes. Knock them over.
But by the end of the movie, we can kind of see her this is kind of her arc. She sort of changes her tune. She helps him destroy the box maze, sort of taking it seriously on her own. And Dave has sort of completed his journey of, you know, wanting this validation for what he's doing and completing his project. So that's my own interpretation of why it was the way it was. Now, is there a, you know, practical or logical reason? No, but I don't know if there was ever going to be an attempt to be in the first place. And personally, I'm okay with that. I have a suspension of disbelief strong enough to accept that.
So
the set design and like overall was just like it was. I mean, I'm trying to find a word for it, but it was to put it simply, it was amazing. Yeah, it looked all completely practically done. You know, it looked like, I'm not sure if it actually was, but it looked like they just glued pieces of cardboard together, and that's how they constructed this entire thing from, you know, Dave's hand, which is made of cardboard in the movie.
Which you find out,
through a series of events that it would take too long to explain on this show. But yeah, it's just amazing to look at, and there's especially scenes that just kind of blew my mind, like the scene where they go into a sort of dining room sort of set. And it's all sort of set up in a super liminal way, so, you know, it's like a perspective trick. And, you just
play on depth.
Play on depth, exactly. And it's just the way that that was all pulled off was very
Intuitive.
It was intuitive. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was just,
Like whenever the camera people stuck their head and then they were up at the window. It's at certain points it's very cartoon-esque, like very like fake.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like with these people going through these things, felt really real.
Yeah, and that's the director. I mean, the thing that makes it all work is that they don't take themselves too seriously. They don't, pretend like this is some monolithic, symbolic adventure that they just take it as what it is. The guy made a box fort and because he wanted to, and things just got out of control from there.
Yeah. What do you think, Brandon?
I already told you. This movie sits in a spot in my brain where it's like, does there really have to be deeper meaning behind what the hell's going on in this movie?
I mean, no. That's what we're saying. Like, there doesn't have to be a deeper meaning.
You guys went on a whole tangent about what the director was trying to do with his passion and then comparing it to the main character and all that.
Well, it's a speculation.
Yeah,
it's the point that I think we were trying to get at is that the director, the crew put a lot of time and effort into making something that had probably no meaning at all, and that was the entire point of the film. In my opinion, it was a passion project for the sake of being a passion project. It was a fun, funny, whimsical for the sake of being fun, funny, and whimsical. That is, I think, where it begins and ends. And there's something really charming about that. I think there's something really endearing about it.
Yeah.
And how they handle the whole thing.
Yeah. I will say, like, when the movie began, and when they were talking to him through the box, and I got a lot of, like, I thought it was going to be a lot of self-reflection and, like, depression and working depression, like a functional depression, because they started off with a joke about, it's like, I thought I'd find you with a bag over your head hanging in your closet, and it's like,
Thought you were dead in a closet with a bag over your head. Huh.
like, okay, so this is really dark. Like, they obviously, like, they thought this man was capable of killing himself. So I was just like, okay, so, like, we're going to talk about functional depression. And then it's like, it really didn't delve too much into it. Like, yeah, like, this was him kind of focusing on a single thing that he thinks he could control, but he ended up losing control. And that's, like, a really big part of life. So I think there are meanings you can pull out of it, deeper meanings that you can pull out of it. Whether or not it's the intention of the director, I think remains to be seen.
That is actually an interesting point. I guess at the beginning of the movie, he does start in this kind of slump where he's acting very childish, to put it nicely. But by the end of the movie, you can almost say, like, the box fort kind of represents his growing up. It's, as he creates these big labyrinths But by the end of the movie, he's the one that ultimately tears it down. He tears down that box fort. He tears down his old childish ways, maybe while still keeping some of that charm. But maybe that's sort of representative of him letting go of some of that part of himself and growing up a little bit.
Well, he even had the line, it's like, you know why they call it being broke? Because you're a broken man. And, like, that, I mean, that is really, really real, and it does resonate a lot with me, and I think probably a lot of people out there. But at the same time, it's like working for people you hate, doing jobs that you don't necessarily want to do, but you feel like you have to. Like, that's something I think everyone understands. And, like, but it's not like they never really beat you over the head about it. Like, they touch on it here, they touch on it there, and then you can kind of draw a conclusion here. And that's really nice that it's not like this overarching, like, you have to, this is what the movie's about, you have to see it this way. So that was really, really nice and enjoyable.
But I think that is what makes the movie works, is it's like, just simplicity, and how, it does have these messages if you want to get into them, but it's also just fun. It's also just creative and fun to look at. I don't think I would have sat through the movie if it was just one extreme of, being completely just symbolic and thematic, and just sort of beating over the head with these themes. But at the other hand, I don't think I would have been particularly interested in the movie if it was completely lacking, some of its substance. Yeah.
So, what do you think of the characters? Like, the characters in and of themselves, whenever they come out, it feels like after all that, it feels like they've all been through that, and they've all kind of approached it in different ways. Like, Gordon, like, probably my favorite character in this entire, he ends up like standing up to the Minotaur, and like you can see that, and there's like a lot of little motifs that that seem to like hint that he's like stepping up. Like his shirt like ends up changing, like it ends up being him on the shirt at the end of the movie. I think it's him because he's ends up becoming the beard.
I did recognize that. I just didn't realize that he started off with the different shirt. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of like a bland and neutral version of the shirt, at least from what I'm remembering from the beginning. Like it was really bland and neutral, and then like it did the level up sound at the end, and then like it was him. And it was like he looked really tough and fearsome, and it's like, okay, it looks like he's ready to stand up. Like Annie ended up being like really supportive, like was really combative at the beginning, and like you saw her character develop over time to become really supportive, and just like you see all these characters grow except for the director.
Yeah.
The director really didn't grow. No. You want like halfway through the movie, whenever they're watching like their old like short film about British high society, you're like, oh, is he gonna like grow as a person? No, he was a terrible person throughout the entire movie. Yeah. Though he did kind of egg Bryn on towards the end, kind of helping helping them kind of hold the Minotaur in place.
Yeah,
helping a man die.
Yeah, no, like
he sort of. He had a very passive role in the entire thing at the beginning of the film, and I guess his absolution, his final arc, I guess you could say, is him sort of taking a greater role in trying to help people escape, even if it was, ultimately inconsequential. Yeah. And according to the cameraman, the director did fuck the cameraman wife, so I'm not sure if he was too sad to see him go. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Brandon has to say about this. You haven't talked much. I feel like you would have something to say about some of the personalities in this movie.
Honestly, crazy enough, a lot of these characters just kind of just fill their roles. They didn't really stand out.
All right. So ultimately, what are your guys' final thoughts on the movie? We'll start with you, Brandon, because you look like you've been contemplating this entire time.
I've been trying.
I know.
I've been trying. This movie was just like we said before this thing even started, like a bad acid trip, honestly, because it's like it was just so much random stuff happening. I enjoyed it. I mean, I like brand-off movies a lot, so I don't want to put a lot of deep thought into what this movie was to me, but like for something that was for hour and 20, hour and 25, it wasn't a bad watch. I'll say that. No. That being said, these people didn't really seem to care about their friends dying like they did, and that's kind of messed up. But at the same time, like they probably didn't know they were gonna really die in there. But like, that's just me. So
okay.
I did enjoy this movie a lot, though I do have my criticisms, of course. I didn't, love a lot of the acting. Was serviceable. Yeah. The script sometimes seemed a little shabby. Scenes sometimes just moved from one to another because the script said so, or at least it felt like that. Yeah. It might have been edited together like that. And just all these little flaws. But, at the end of the day, it is a very charming B movie, I think is the best way to describe it. And one that you can chew on a little bit at that, which is a lot more than I can say for a lot of other movies. It oozes inspiration. It's very original. It's creative, and I have to give a lot of props for that. It was for its short runtime, I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. And for this director's debut film, his freshman effort, if he ever has another one, it was very, very good.
Yeah, it was definitely a breath of fresh air. Oh yeah. Like definitely took a lot of creative input and like thought. So ultimately, I agree with you. I think it was a very, very fantastical movie. And
It swept-
especially,
It swept film festivals like for a good like chunk of them.
Really?
I believe it.
Winning awards left and right.
yeah, I believe it. It was a solid film.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us tonight while we discuss Dave Made a Maze. Hopefully you'll join us next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
There
And
you
we will
go.
see you later.
There you go.
Deuces.